Hi, everyone. It's Wednesday, and we have another great verse. Hey, wasn't yesterday fun to go back to 2019 and listen to Pastor Jeff, and myself talk about Jeremiah 29:11? And it turned out that was the most searched for verse on the internet in 2018. Wow. We have talked about that verse, and then Monday was Jeremiah 33:3, God's phone number. God says, call me, call on me. We're doing verses from Jeremiah, inspirational verses all this week. I know you're going to be blessed. I know that I need every one of these verses. And I just have my prayers that one will stand out to you. Can I give you the one for today? It's Jeremiah 1 at verse 8. God says to Jeremiah, "Do not be afraid of them, for I am with you and I will rescue you, declares the Lord." Why would Jeremiah be afraid? Well, when you read chapter 1, you realize that he was a young guy, and he was very young at the beginning of this ministry. I don't know the exact age. But in Jeremiah 1:6, Jeremiah says to the Lord, he says, Lord, I don't know how to speak. I am too young. You know what? He was young. He was young, and he was going to be speaking to kings and leaders and the whole nation. And it wasn't an unjustified fear. In fact, God doesn't say to him, you shouldn't be afraid. No, he says, don't be afraid. And there's a difference. He acknowledges that the feeling of fear was there in Jeremiah. It was legitimate. You know, nations and kings, and to be a public speaker and call them to repentance. Tough things, tough things, hard things. The opposition would be real. But God meets him right there in his fear, not after he makes it disappear. What are you afraid of? Are you afraid of anything right now? Maybe a diagnosis of something or fear that might run out of money or relationship wise? Do you have anything like that? So God doesn't say, hey, get it together. Come on. No, he says, I am with you. He says, don't be afraid. What? For I am with you. I am with you. Man, don't ever be afraid to admit your fear to God. Now, we want to replace it with faith, but fear is a real thing. And God gives us the answer. For I am with you. For I am with you. That's a lot different from, hey, you can do it. You can do it. No, you can't always do it. But God can do it. And God can work in you and he can work around you. You know, he said the same thing to Abraham and Moses and Joshua and even Mary. The answer to their fears was his own presence. Man, you don't need to walk through life alone. Consider this. If maybe you remember your own self, either when you were the parent or you were the child. And a kid can get very fearful in a big crowd. But if they're holding on to their parent's hand, then it doesn't make the crowd any smaller. No, it's still loud and it's confusing. But the child is no longer afraid because their mother or their father is right there. I don't know how many times when my kids were smaller, I would hold them or carry them in the midst of a crowd, and then there was no issue. There was no issue. I'm sure you did notice I wore the same shirt on Monday. This shirt was a gift, Father's Day gift, actually, from my Stacy, my daughter, and her husband Ben. It's a great reminder that we have a wonderful country. And I don't know about you, but I love the celebrating of it on July 4th this year, celebrating 250 years. Well, it came with a price, didn't it? And those early Americans, and we talked about how many of them were believers. I'm sure they were afraid as they fought, but I know that many of them used Jeremiah 1 verse 8 because it doesn't say don't in fact it says don't be afraid. It says I am with you. And I know that that was an important call, even for those in the American Revolution, that allowed us to have this great country. Nah, it's amazing, isn't it? That God is that good to us. It's not something that we earn or we achieve. It's just by the grace of God that He promises. He promises. And what does He promise? He says, because it's not just that He's with us, but He says, I will rescue you. I will rescue you. And then He says, declares the Lord. And when God declares it, man, that's it. You don't need to worry about it any longer. He doesn't just show up and watch you. No, no, not at all. It says, I will rescue you. And that's a verb. Not only is it in the future tense, but it's in the ongoing. It's active. It doesn't matter. It can be over and over again. Now, that doesn't mean that Jeremiah was going to have an easy life. In fact, if you study Jeremiah, you'll find that at one point he was thrown into a well, he was rejected, he was imprisoned, and he is often mocked. What are you saying? It's not going to be like that. Yes, he was declaring the word of the Lord. And you know what? He made it through every one of those difficult moments. God kept his word. I will rescue you. Rescue doesn't always mean removal of the issue. Sometimes it just means sustaining you through the issue and pulling you out on the other side of the issue. Something in your life, you need that? You need this verse? Well, it's there for you to claim. Let me repeat it one last time. Jeremiah 1, verse 8. Great for memorizing. Do not be afraid of them, for I am with you, and I will rescue you, declares the Lord. Every one of those words is important. Declares the Lord. I'm grasping onto that one myself. I'm grasping onto it because I don't need to doubt. I don't need to be afraid. And I know that I need that verse. God bless. Thank you. I pray that this is a blessing in your life. And I have another perfect verse for you tomorrow morning. See you then.